Hi, this is Rebecca Robbins, and this is my persuasive speech for Principles of Public Speaking, section 017B, and the topic is school uniforms in public schools. School uniforms in public schools have been a heated topic of debate for decades, since Bill Clinton's inaugural speech, and he talked of school uniforms in 1996, and the increased media coverage of violence in public schools. Administrators have been looking for different ways to try to increase the safety in school environments and increase the safety of students on a daily basis. Proponents of school uniforms say that school uniforms actually are able to increase student safety and increase the positive atmosphere of a school. Critics say that it's at the cost of students' freedom of expression. Proponents argue that student safety should be the first priority of the school, and I wholeheartedly agree with this statement. That's why I think school uniforms should be a mandatory part of public education. Over the past couple of decades, there's been an increased acceptance of school uniforms in the public education system, which was once just typical in private schools. In 1987, the first public school instituted uniforms in Maryland, and since then, about 21 states, including Washington, D.C., have at least some public schools that have uniforms. This increased definitely in 1996 with Bill Clinton's inaugural speech, where he spoke about public schools utilizing uniforms, and that was indicated in a report by the National Center for Educational Statistics. Currently, approximately 95% of New Orleans public schools utilize uniforms, 85% of Cleveland's public schools, and 80% of Chicago's public schools utilize uniforms. There are several other cities that have pretty high percentage rates, but I thought that those were pretty interesting, being over, 80%. School uniforms have immediate benefits to schools that utilize them. First of all, they diminish the differences that children have from different socioeconomic levels. Visibly, it reduces that level of difference. Everybody's wearing the same thing, so it's not as easy to tell whether a family is from middle class, upper class, or lower class. It also prevents gang colors from being in the school. It reduces the time and effort that administrators have to spend on clothes police or making sure that students are not wearing things that are too tight, too short, or inappropriate for the school environment. It reduces student distractions from these type of clothing. And it also creates a community of the school because all the students wear the same thing. It reduces outcasts, students that don't fit in because of their clothing choices. And it also allows administrators to easily recognize outsiders or people that are trying to sneak in the school building. Research has been done on the use of school uniforms in the public school, and there are positive results that have been shown over time. Some positive change that has been documented in the school system has been shown statistically. A quote by Arnold and Workman in 2003, they were cited as saying that students who owned or wore offensive violent t-shirts were more likely to engage in violent behavior, experience consequences of problematic behavior, engage in substance abuse, and have negative attitudes towards school. This is from the dress code debate. By removing offensive and violent material being worn, students can focus on their education. It forms a more formal and positive school environment. Research completed by George Mason University revealed that across the board, schools with uniforms showed decreases in negative behaviors like aggression, firearms possession, drugs, and gang issues. Psychology Today in 1999 reported that Long Beach Public School, California had a 91% drop in suspension directly following their application of school uniforms, a 90% drop in vandalism, and a 69% drop in drug use. Uniforms have also been credited with an increase in academic performance. Unfortunately, though, there haven't been any real longitudinal studies done yet. Uniforms also create positive changes within the students themselves who are wearing the uniforms. The increases and instills a discipline within the students. More formal attire increases their pride in their appearance. It increases school pride and creates unity. And it reduces teasing behaviors because everyone's wearing the same thing. Another thing about uniforms is that uniforms mimic the real world. Most jobs require for an employee to wear specialized clothing, whether it be business casual, suits, or an actual uniform. And because school is seen as a training ground for adult life, students should be prepared for that. And by requesting that they wear a uniform during their school day, it's just a way of training them for what's going to be expected of them, in their careers. By requiring students to wear a uniform during school, we also are setting that time separate from their home life. School is different from home. There's a different set of rules for school, different set of behaviors and expectations. You wouldn't raise your hand if you needed something at home. By asking students to wear uniforms at school, you're setting that environment as being completely different from what is expected at home. So there are some critics of school uniforms, and their main arguments are that uniforms violate students' freedom of expression. School uniforms prevent students from being able to choose their clothing, and there's some research that's psychologically based that says, teenagers especially need to be able to choose their own clothing as part of their becoming adults, trying to develop their individuality. There hasn't been a lot of research done whether there's, any difference between students who wore uniforms to school and students that did not wear uniforms to school, about how that affected their adult life. But school uniforms and the freedom to dress individually has not been heard by the Supreme Court. So as of now, school uniforms are, considered constitutional. And it has been said by several researchers that an educational program that promotes individuality is more beneficial to students than the freedom to be able to dress individually. And proponents of uniforms say that uniforms allow teachers, administrators more time to create educational programs that allow students individuality because there's less time focused on safety issues, on wardrobe police, that kind of thing. Critics also argue that uniforms are costly to purchase, and that it puts lower class and families at a disadvantage. This has been disproven. Basically, initially, there's an investment to purchase uniforms, but uniforms are durable. It requires less items to purchase, and clothes can be swapped once a uniform system is created in a school. Usually they create some kind of clothes swap store where parents can swap sizes for, new sizes. So it actually does become a better, cost value. In conclusion, the United States Department of Education Manual of School Uniforms from 1996 states that uniforms were cited as decreasing violence, theft, preventing gang-related colors, instilling student discipline, helping to assist with student concentration on academics, and preventing intruders to school. Based on this, school uniforms seem to be a good method to try to help our students increase their safety and increase their learning. And I definitely think that school uniforms should be a part of the public school education system. And I hope that this speech has given you something to think about and maybe even persuaded you a little bit. Thanks.